Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Empowered. I'm excited to get to share with you today how we can be empowered by the Lordship of Jesus Christ. When we understand the Lordship or the supremacy of Christ, it deepens our relationship with Him. We have a more accurate view of Him. It allows us to deepen our sense of thankfulness and gratitude. You know, in the world there is suffering. Right now, we've just lived through several years of the COVID-19 pandemic. There's war going on. We have conflicts in our personal lives. We even experience personal heartache. Yet in Romans 5 and 1 Thessalonians 5, the Lord calls us to rejoice in our sufferings and be grateful. In 2019, I personally went through a very difficult season in the beginning of the year where myself, my husband, and our 8-month-old daughter found ourselves without a place to stay. We had to move out of the old place in a great hurry, and essentially we didn't know where to go. So we did find accommodation, and that was a really difficult time because where we were staying, it's as if the landlord was trying to push us out. She was making us as uncomfortable as possible. That's for the first time in my life where I'd ever felt truly persecuted as a believer. And during that time, we knew we were supposed to be rejoicing in our sufferings, but we said, Lord, how do we do this? This is really hard. This is a really difficult season full of unknowns, and we could just feel the spiritual darkness around us. I think we've all been there. We've all said, Lord, how can we rejoice in our sufferings? And I feel like if we can understand the Lordship of Jesus Christ and the supremacy that He has over our lives, that this can unlock a door to thankfulness. So let's unpack the supremacy of Christ. What does the word supreme mean? It is defined as being the highest in rank or the highest in authority. As believers, we look to the Word, and what does the Bible tell us about the supremacy of Christ? So I want to share with you today from Colossians chapter 1, ultimately verse 18, but I'd like to start in verse 15. Colossians chapter 1, verse 15 says, "He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation." This tells me that Jesus is supreme in person. We also see in Colossians chapter 2, verse 9, it says, "For in Him the whole fullness of deity dwells bodily." This is saying that Christ is God. He came to the earth as man and was God manifested as a human. God is invisible. He is with us in spirit, but Jesus came as the visible image of the invisible God. Christ is supreme as person. He is supreme in person. Then reading further in Colossians 1, verse 16 and 17. "For by Him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things were created through Him and for Him. He is before all things, and in Him all things hold together." Christ is supreme over creation. He is supreme as our Creator. It says that He is before all things, and in Him all things hold together. This means that Jesus is not created, but He is Creator. He is God. There is nothing that has dominion or authority over Him. He is simply not just a man greater than the rest, but He is God. Christ is supreme as Creator. And thirdly, we read in 1 Colossians chapter 1, verse 18, "He is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in everything He might be preeminent." Christ is supreme over the church. He is head over the body. We have been reconciled through His shed blood on the cross. We as the church are guaranteed full redemption. Jesus is the firstborn from the dead. As the resurrected Lord, He is over death. He is supreme over the church. So it's with these three key points that we can see how we can deepen our worship of Christ. Point 1, Christ is supreme in person. He is God. He is the visible image of the invisible God. Second, Christ is supreme over creation. He is Creator. Nothing has greater authority over creation than Jesus, God. And third, Jesus is supreme over the church. He is the resurrected Lord. He is over all. Today, I want this supremacy of Christ to sustain you through your difficulties. We must allow our minds and our hearts to be captured with the greatness and the beauty and the worth of Christ. And only then can we endure our hardships, for we will be giving thanks as we dwell in the supremacy of Christ. Looking back in my situation, when I found the difficulties with our living situation, it was these things that helped bring us through. Setting our hearts and our minds on the greatness and the beauty and the worth of Jesus Christ, remembering his lordship and his supremacy, taking my eyes off of my situation and setting it on him and his supremacy over the world. Today, I hope that you are encouraged and that you've learned that you can dwell and give thanks in the lordship of Jesus Christ, that you will be empowered by his lordship and his supremacy.